In this box I've got the DSO138 oscilloscope, and I believe it's the cheapest oscilloscope in the world. We're going to have a look at it today and see if it's any good. Okay, so here it is. This is the DSO138 oscilloscope by JYETech. Now in the box you get the scope itself and these kind of crocodile clip BNC leads and a little instruction manual, which is quite useful. What you don't get is a power supply, so you will want to go ahead and buy yourself one of these adjustable power supplies, quite useful. And don't try what I tried and just pick up any old power supply out of your toolbox, because this one fits. It's only 8.2 volts and it does turn on, but it creates this kind of small, unwanted repetitive signal on the screen, so that's no good. Now in its cheapest form, it's available as a kit. So if you're into building things yourself, especially electronics, then that might be a good one for you. Keep you busy for a few nights. I've linked everything in the video down below, by the way, if you want to check them out. And there is another version of this. It's the DSO138 Mini, where it actually has a USB for the power supply, and it's much smaller than this. Not that you'd think an oscilloscope could get any smaller than this. So let's switch it on and see what it's about. Okay, so our power supply is set to 9 volts and I've got the correct connector installed there, and the power supply just inserts on the top of the unit there. And there we are, we're switched on, and we can see there that we haven't got any of that unwanted kind of noise. So a quick look around the scope. We've got a BNC connector there, which is standard to all the other oscilloscopes, like the picoscope that I use. We've got some switches down the side here for AC, DC and ground coupling, which is quite good. We've got the voltage selection there, so we've got 10 millivolts, 0.1 volt and 1 volt, and then we've got a multiplier, kind of attenuator type switch here. So maximum voltage of this is 50 volts, so that's huge for a tiny little scope like this. So in the box it comes with this cheap little BNC crocodile clip lead, which is only about a foot long. Suggest you get something a little bit longer if you do want to kind of try it out on automotive. So we'll connect that in the top there. I've just got an old 9 volt battery here. And there we go, we've got a flat line 9 volts there. Okay, so the settings of the scope, you use this button here and you can see the small blue box outline that highlights the options as you click it. Okay, so if we have a quick look around the settings, then we've got the time setting here, and then you use these plus and minus switches here to increase and decrease the time. So they were decreasing the time, and then here we increase the time. The next setting along there is a trigger, so we can set that to an auto trigger. We've got a normal trigger and a single, so same as what you get on the on any other standard picoscopes. We can set the trigger edge to positive and negative. Here is the trigger level, so if you wanted to trigger just something, you could move the trigger that way. And then here is the position. So you can move the position across. So this button here will stop and start the scope. And then here you can see, look, we are scrolling through the stored data. The next option on this side here is just the level of the scope. So the offset, moving the offset up and down. Okay, so another cool feature of this scope is if you press and hold the select button, we get some voltage readings and frequency. So we get basically some measurement data for what's coming in on the input. So we can see there we're just picking up the 50 Hertz frequency from the power supply around us. So that's quite a neat little feature. Okay, so to turn the measurements off, on and off, the menu's got to be on the time setting. And then turn it off. Press the hold button. Okay, let's connect it up to the car and see what we've got. Okay, as we're just messing around, we're just going to connect this up to this air quality sensor where I think we've got a PWM signal we can have a look at. Alright, let's connect it up and see what we've got. Okay, so we can see we've got something there, however it's going off the screen, so I think we're going to have to adjust some settings here to get the waveform we want. So I'm going to select ×5, and there we are, there's our pulse width modulation signal. Let's just adjust that time setting, so spread it out a bit, that's great. We can see there that we've already got the trigger on by the look of it, so let's just move that down to prove that it's working. There you go, you can see there we've lost the trigger there. If we bring the trigger up to the area, there we are, so not bad. Okay, let's try something more challenging like a diesel injector. Okay, so I'm going to connect up the attenuator on here because we're getting quite close to the maximum input of the scope measuring this diesel injector. Okay, we're in. Let's go and start it up. Okay, we can see we've got something there now, but it's quite small, so we've got to remember that we've just put a ×20 attenuator on here, so if you do the math, there's a lot of volts. So let's try switching this down a bit. Okay, there's something a bit better. Down to ×1. Still quite hard to see what's happening there. Let's try increasing the time. Okay, so there's our injection there. So I've just brought the time right down to 0.5 milliseconds a division. Let's now get the trigger. So I can see the image there, it's just really struggling to trigger to it. It's also upside down, so let me just change the leads around. Okay, so if we stick it on normal trigger there, you can see that we pick up the signal. Let's just move it across. Don't press the reset button by mistake. So if we just move the pattern across there. Okay, and then we'll bring the time down a bit. Oh, there we are. Look at that, that is pretty good. So there's the injector opening. This is the pulsing where it's holding open. And then the drop there is our spike from the coil, magnetic field around the coil collapsing. Not bad. So use that normal trigger there if you want a pattern that's going to stay still on the screen. So what do we think? You saw for yourself there, we had a quick look at a PWM signal, and we even got it on a diesel injector with a fairly decent pattern. Screen size lets it down, but I think if you're looking to dip your toe in the world of oscilloscopes without investing too much money, you can't go wrong with that, can you?